It's a beautiful Wednesday morning in the city of Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. Today, 1st February 2023. Happy new month to our viewers. Now, let's move straight to the front pages of the dailies. I'm starting with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with elections logistics in danger with fuel scarcity. That's coming from INEC. We are mobilizing about 100,000 vehicles, 4,000 boats for deployment of personnel and materials to 176,846 polling units spread across 8,809 registration areas and 774 local government areas nationwide. That's coming from Yakubu. NNPC assures electoral body of adequate supply. Things will change before polls. That's coming from Tinubu spokesperson. INEC should double check transport unions. That's coming from Labour Party. We're hoping it will be brought under control. That's coming from PDP campaign. And on page 9, we have PVCs. Obi insists over 3 million Nigerian students must vote, meet European Union observers. Federal government cracks down on petrol marketers, others end to smuggling. DPO, 2 corpses, 3 women, children killed in fresh Heathers attack in Benue. That can be seen on page 6. On page 19, IMF upgrades Nigeria's 2023 economic growth projection to 3.2%. Osun Governorship Tribunal judgment. Opponents of Beavers out to discredit it. That's coming from Igini. Sports. Jorginho jumps Stamford Bridge to Arsenal. Stories above. NAIRA redesign. No Nigerian will lose money. That's coming from EMEFIELE. You can see that story on page 11. And lastly, on Vanguard newspaper, Catholic bishops to federal government save Nigerians from one-top killings, looting, and kidnapping. That story can be seen on page 27 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now, away from there, let's move to the Punch. Punch this morning is leading with new NAIRA racketeering, EFCC to raid Lagos, Kaduna, Port Harcourt currency hawkers. CBN bars multiple debit card withdrawals, threatens the stiffer sanctions. EMEFIELE meets refs, others banks to accept old notes after deadline. Central Bank stops old note payouts. Commotion persists at ATM point. You can see the story on page 2. One killed as tanker crushes 3 Lagos tricycles. You can see that on pages 4 and 5. Protests as Ekweremadu wife appear in United Kingdom courts. Labour Party governorship candidate, others boycott Obi's Yola rally. You can see that on page 8. Stories above. For scarcity threatens elections, national security. That's coming from INEC and CDS. Lastly, on the Punch, how 100 bandits ambushed and killed 7 NSCDC personnel. That's according to the director. Now, away from that, let's move through the Nation. Nation is leading with EMEFIELE banks to blame for scarcity of new NAIRA notes. CBN chief to Nigerians, you won't lose your old notes. Deadline extension likely. We have seen the new NAIRA being used in parties. What we saw being stamped on people at parties were packages of the new NAIRA notes, which means banks, had breached certain aspects of the guidance notes we gave to them. That's a quote, and you can see that on page 5. Tinubu promises prosperity in Cross River, end to erosion in Anambra. And lastly, on the front page of the Nation newspaper, NNPCL CDS threatening action over food scarcity. That can be seen on page 4 of the Nation. Now let's move to the Guardian. The Guardian this morning is leading with cash squeeze intensifies, stalls business transactions. EMEFIELE, CBN will still collect old notes after February 10 deadline. CBN uncovers a mismanaged 4 million naira new note in Ogun. Knocks commercial banks. Online transfer takes days to complete, dispute increase. POS merchants ration cash, increase charges to 10%. Banks reduce ATM withdrawal limit to 5,000 naira. Afale Carpet Emefiele says policy likely to disrupt 2023 polls. That can be seen on page 6. Violence, internal crisis mark campaign rallies in Niger and Rivers. Also, we have PDP condemns Tinubu's alleged threat to Governor Emmanuel. That can be seen on page 4. You have missed deadline. Name your presidential candidate. Criticize. Tout Wiki. You can see that on page 28. And lastly, on the Guardian newspaper, IMF urges central banks to stay vigilant. revises Nigerians' growth to 3.2%. That can be seen on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages this morning. Join us after the break for the analysis. Welcome back. If you're just joining me, this is Today the News on Vanguard Live. I'm Damilola Ogushaki. Joining me to analyze the front pages of the dailies this morning is Mr. Gbero Olajuigbe. He's the Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Good morning, Mr. Gbero.
Good morning. It's a pleasure being with you.
Likewise here. So following the continued scarcity of fuel across the country, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, yesterday raised the alarm that the development could hamper election day logistics. What's your take on this? I mean, it's just few days to the election. We are in February already.
Well, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. Let's take the issue of INEC itself first. INEC is institution that depends on logistics in conducting election. That's to move its materials across the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. And how is that going to happen? And at what cost if they do? What the drivers who are going to use, they can't even get fuel. So how are they going to work? How are they going to move the materials? And if they move the materials, that's why I've been telling people all these things have a very predictable consequences on economy, on social condition of Nigeria, and as a matter of fact, it's going to impact gravely on the conduct of election. People who are voters or electorate, as we choose to call them, we move from one place to the other. How are they going to get there? And we are talking of a country whose people, I'm talking even the registered voters, we've never had 50% of them voting, of us voting. We have never had that one. And do you think that the risk, with this risk of incurring more expenditure if you have to travel and everything, they will consider that the risk is not even worth it. So the apathy to voting will continue and of course be worse than what it used to be. Because people cannot feed, they cannot eat, they cannot transport themselves, and you are giving them an additional burden of the day of election to transport themselves with the little resource they have from their disposable income, or even those who have no income at all. How are they going to move about? I have heard presidential candidates saying that even holidays should be given to students in schools. But how are the parents going to transport them because of election to go and vote? And at what cost? At whose cost? These are situations that are supposed to have been envisaged. So it's going to be, Nigeria is at the edge of that precipice, and all these things combined together in diverse permutation, the fuel, the naira, everything, to frustrate existence, to frustrate living, to adding further the condition of living of Nigeria, and make them so despondent when it comes to their attitude, political behavior or attitude to voting. So all this constitute what you call even personal risk.
But
is it worth it? Those are the questions that we ask.
Mr. Gbero, after a separate meeting with the INEC boss, the NNPCL on its part assured INEC that there will be adequate fuel supply, noting that the current scarcity will not affect the elections at all.
I beg, leave NNPC at all. When they talk, it's just like comedian talking. How many times are they giving Nigeria an assurance? This thing is very, very annoying. The fact is that I have said it several times, and for the umpteenth time, are we even supposed to be importing fuel? Those are the issues. These people they have turned the tragedies of Nigeria to personal profit, and they are benefiting from it because they have built economy around our misfortune. So they are not going to let go? And look at the presidential candidates promising that they are going to remove fuel subsidy. Is that the problem? Is that not easy? That is the easiest thing to do. But can you manage the social crisis? And aside from that, the premises on which they build their removal of fuel subsidy, very faulty. Number one, they feel that poor people are not benefiting from it. That they don't, because they don't own car. That is too pedestrian. Everything that we have, whether foodstuff or anything transporting them, hiking costs that grievously impact the most vulnerable, which are the most vulnerable and the poor people in our society. Have they considered that? Rather telling us that they will build refineries, that to encourage atmosphere for refineries to function, to work and support that, and they are telling you that they are going to remove, as if that is a very innovative idea of running economy that have been in comatose for years. So NNPC should not even address Nigeria. We have suffered enough. Let me give you an example. On Sunday, I wanted to buy fuel. After I got to my turn, I have purchased cash. I was cashless. I had my distance, but they told me that it has to be by cash if I have to buy fuel. After, for a long time, I have to just few money that will not even get to cut off a tank. That's what I was able to use money to buy. I couldn't even use my ATM card. So it's a very dear situation that we have found ourselves. It's going to affect election. It's affecting individual. It's aggravating anger. It's pushing Nigeria to the precipice, and is going to create condition that is not that is hostile even to voting.
All right, still talking about this for scarcity, the federal government yesterday read the Riot Act to petrol marketers, directing them to end all petrol smuggling out of the country or face stiff action from security operatives. This is not the first time they are issuing this type of warning, but it seems it's a continuous one. What's your take on this?
Let me, for example, in Abuja, in the last 2 years, there is no peace when it comes to buying fuel. So the federal government has not been in existence since that time. Federal DSSS has issued the same threat that if they don't start selling fuel and everything, what came out of it? Which government? Are they enforcing what they are saying? Everywhere you turn to, there is problem. Look at the cost of living, how it has affected even ordinary yam, how it has affected any goods that you have to move from. I'm talking goods that are basic, that you need to buy, to depend on. Is it garri you want to talk? Or any sort of food materials that you want to say about? Taking them to the market, how it has skyrocketed their prices. So it's not what the federal government is saying. Of course, a person like me don't even believe the government. As a matter of fact, I've conditioned my heart to the fact that there is none in existence. Because one, they even told us what the price should be. Who is following up? Who is implementing it? People are buying fuel for 400 naira above per liters.
Now let's talk about the new NAIRA note redesign. The NAIRA, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin EMEFIELE, has assured Nigerians that no Nigerian will lose money under the NAIRA redesign project, adding that the project is in the overall interest of Nigerians and the economy. Mr. EMEFIELE gave the assurance during a meeting with the ad hoc committee on the review of the bank's cashless policy and extension of the timeframe of the currency swap program of the bank on Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. He added that subject to the provision of Section 23 of the CBN Act, Nigerians would be given the opportunity to redeem the face value of the Naira in their possession after the currency would have lost its legal tender status on February 10, 2023, deadline only at the CBN. According to him, the currency redesign policy had so far recorded about a 75% success rate, given the fact that many of those in the rural and undeserved locations across the 36 states of the country have had the opportunity of swapping their old banknotes for the new series of the banknote. Emefiele also was accompanied to the meeting by the four deputy governors at the bank, disclosed that the bank had deployed about 30,000 super agents to work with the bank staff currently in the interland to ensure that the underserved and vulnerable members of the society are adequately catered for. But of course, it seems we have not only been experiencing the bank queues, we've also been experiencing for scarcity queue. And of course, this morning, if you're moving around Lagos, of course, you will see long queues at the banks, and not just any bank is really free from the long queues, as the fact that most ATMs are not dispensing the old Naira notes. They're all trying to dispense the new Naira notes. But of course, from what we're hearing and seeing, the new note is not enough for Nigerians to withdraw. And also, if you try to withdraw money from the POS operators, definitely there's a 10% increase. So if you're withdrawing 2,000 naira, you might have to pay extra 200 naira. And if you're withdrawing the 20,000, you might have to withdraw. You might have to pay 2,000 naira returns. And the ATM machines are also dispensing just 5,000 naira. Some are dispensing 10,000 naira. So I guess that's what is causing the long queues at the ATMs, and coupled with the fact that we also have long queues at the filling station. So this is causing a lot of traffic everywhere. So some Lagosians might find it difficult to get to work this morning due to this traffic. Shortage of cash, and of course you can't do transfer to your bus conductors and all that. Definitely, we know that will not be possible. But we hope, the government will be able to find solution to this very soon. Now let's move away from that and just end this morning with Mr. and Mrs. The first person speaking this morning is Mr. It says that changing the old Naira notes to new ones is driving everybody nuts. This coupled with fuel scarcity is too much for me. So I expect you to manage. These are trying times, you know. And Mrs. replied, then keep trying. Mister, there's no excuse. You just have to keep trying because Mrs. is not going to listen to it. I mean, when you want to withdraw money, you need this. But funny enough, when you go to parties or you watch people, going to parties, you just see the new Naira notes everywhere. And you're wondering, this is Naira notes I can't really withdraw at the ATMs, but we are seeing people, just spending these and, spraying it in the party. So the banks and CBN, they really have some questions to answer, as Nigerians are really curious to know what is happening. And of course, this is where we have to draw the curtain today. My name is Damilola Ogunshakin. Do well to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen.